Pip the Penguin and the Secret of the Ice Crystal Chapter 1. The wobbling worry far, far away, at the bottom of the world, there was a vast white continent covered in sparkling snow and ice that glittered like a million tiny diamonds. This was Antarctica, and it was home to the happiest colony of emperor penguins you could ever imagine. In this colony lived a small, fluffy penguin named Pip. Pip had bright, curious eyes and soft, downy feathers that stuck out in all directions. He loved his family, he loved the cold sea, and he loved sliding down the slippery slopes more than anything in the world. But Pip had a secret worry. Every morning, the adult penguins would gather together and waddle in a great, long line to the fishing grounds. They walked with a proud, side-to-side sway. Left, right, it was a beautiful, rhythmic dance. All the young penguins practiced this waddle every day. But whenever Pip tried to waddle, something terrible happened. His little webbed feet would cross over each other, his flippers would flap wildly, and, plop, he would fall face first into a pile of soft snow, leaving only his tiny tail feathers sticking out. "Oh, Pip!" His mother, Penny, would say gently, pulling him out by the scruff of his neck. "Don't worry, darling. You'll get it one day." But Pip wasn't so sure. Every single day, the other young penguins, Toby, Lulu, and little Finn, would practice their waddles. They would strut past Pip, wobbling perfectly, and giggle. "Watch out, Pip," Toby chirped. "If you keep falling, you'll dig a tunnel all the way to Australia." Pip sighed. He didn't want to dig a tunnel. He just wanted to waddle. He sat by the edge of the icy shore and stared at his own reflection in the calm, blue water. "Why can't I do it?" he whispered to himself. "I'm the only penguin in the whole colony who can't walk properly." A big, gray head rose out of the water beside him. It was Sal, the oldest seal in the bay. Sal had a thick, silvery beard of whiskers and a kind, crinkly eye. "Huffing and puffing again, little Pip," Sal rumbled. "What's the matter?" "I'm a failure, Sal," Pip said glumly. "I can't waddle." "A penguin who can't waddle is like a fish who can't swim." Sal let out a deep, rumbling laugh that sent ripples across the water. "Nonsense. You're just special. Tell me, what can you do?" Pip thought for a moment. He looked at the smooth, icy slope leading down to the sea. He took a deep breath, pushed off with his flippers, and lay flat on his belly. Swoosh! He shot down the slope like a rocket. He zipped past the other penguins, his flippers tucked in neatly, leaving a trail of sparkling snow behind him. He was faster than the wind, faster than a flying fish, faster than anything in the colony. He slid all the way to the edge of the water and stopped with a proud spray of ice crystals. "See?" Sal said, nodding his big head. "That was magnificent. You are the fastest belly slider I have ever seen." Pip felt a tiny spark of pride in his chest. But it quickly faded. "Belly sliding isn't a real skill, Sal. It's just messing around." Sal winked. "You never know, young Pip. Sometimes the skill you laugh at is the one that saves the day." Chapter 2. The whispering wind that night, as the long Antarctic twilight painted the sky in shades of pink and purple, Pip lay in the nursery huddle with his mother, father, and his little sister, Pippa. The adult penguins formed a big, warm circle to protect the chicks from the cold wind. But Pip couldn't sleep. He stared up at the millions of stars twinkling above the icy mountains. Suddenly, he heard it. A faint, musical whisper, carried on the icy wind. "PIP. Come to the frozen cave. Follow the shimmering light." Pip sat up straight. "Did you hear that?" he whispered to Pippa. Pippa was fast asleep, snoring softly like a tiny hummingbird. Pip shook his father, Pete. "Dad! Dad! The wind is talking to me. Pete grumbled sleepily. It's just the ice shifting, son. Go back to sleep. But Pip couldn't shake the feeling. The whisper was so clear, so inviting. He quietly waddled, he quietly crawled, out of the huddle and looked around. In the distance, behind the great glacier, he saw a faint, pulsing blue light, like a star trapped inside the ice. His heart beat fast. He remembered Sal's words. A real penguin has a brave heart and a curious mind. Pip took a deep breath. He decided to be brave and curious. He slid on his belly across the frozen plains. He slid past sleeping leopard seals, past towering ice pillars, and through a narrow, winding canyon. The blue light grew brighter and brighter. Finally, he reached the mouth of a huge, ancient ice cave. The walls inside were smooth and glassy, reflecting his own face back at him 1,000 times. In the very center of the cave, resting on a pedestal of pure crystal ice, was a glowing, swirling gem. It was the most beautiful thing Pip had ever seen, an ice crystal. As Pip approached, the crystal pulsed warmly. A gentle, shimmering figure emerged from its light. It was an ancient penguin, made entirely of glowing frost and stars. She had kind, wise eyes and a crown of icicles. "Welcome, Pip," she said, her voice like the tinkling of wind chimes. "I am the guardian of the southern ice. I have been waiting for you." "Me?" Pip stammered. "But I'm just a clumsy penguin who can't waddle." The guardian smiled. "Clumsy feet do not make a clumsy heart. You have been chosen because you are different. Look into the crystal, Pip, and see what is coming." The crystal swirled, and the images inside changed. Pip saw the colony sleeping peacefully. Then, he saw dark, angry clouds rolling in from the horizon. A massive, terrible blizzard, the worst in 100 years, was heading straight for their home. The snow would bury the nursery, and the ice would crack. "This storm will arrive in 3 days," the guardian said solemnly. "It will destroy everything. To save your colony, you must lead them to the hidden valley beyond the frozen peaks. But the path is long, and the ice is treacherous. Only one creature can reach the peak of the frozen peaks in time to light the guiding beacon, a creature who can slide faster than the wind." Pip's beak dropped open. "You mean my belly sliding?" The guardian nodded. "Your difference is your destiny, Pip. You must convince the colony to follow you. And you must be the one to light the beacon. The fate of every penguin in this land rests on your tiny, flappy flippers." Before Pip could ask any more questions, the light faded, and the cave went dark. The crystal had lost its glow. Pip stumbled back out into the cold night. The stars were still shining, but now they felt heavier. He had a mission. Chapter 3. The Council of Waddlers. The next morning, Pip rushed to his parents. "Mom! Dad! We have to move. A huge storm is coming. We have to go to the hidden valley." His parents exchanged worried glances. Penny put a flipper on his head. "Sweetie, did you have a bad dream?" "It wasn't a dream," Pip insisted. "I saw it in the ice crystal. The guardian told me." News of Pip's outburst spread quickly. Soon, the great elder of the colony, a very old, very grumpy penguin named Elder Grumble, called a council meeting. Elder Grumble was named for his grumpy voice. He had led the colony for 40 years, and he believed in one thing. The waddle. "Order! Order!" Elder Grumble squawked, tapping his beak on the ice. "I hear that young Pip here has been spreading stories about a crystal and a storm. Ridiculous. I have waddled through 50 winters, and I have never seen a storm that could beat the Emperor Penguin waddle. We are survivors." "But Elder Grumble," Pip piped up, his voice shaking. This storm is different. The ice will crack. Silence, Chick. Elder Grumble huffed. You can't even waddle properly. How dare you tell the elders what to do? A penguin who can't walk has no right to talk about survival. The other penguins murmured. Toby stepped forward. Yeah, Pip. Stop scaring everyone. Waddling is the best way to travel. My dad says so. Pip felt his heart sink. No one believed him. The colony was laughing at him again. He turned and waddled, fell, and crawled away from the council, tears freezing on his little cheeks. He found Sal at the edge of the bay. They don't believe me, Sal, Pip sniffled. They think I'm just a crazy, clumsy chick. Sal nudged him gently. Pip, look at the horizon. Pip looked. Far, far away, he could see a thin, dark line of gray clouds. It was barely visible, but it was there. The storm was coming. They won't listen to words, Sal said. But they will listen to action. You have 2 days. Practice your sliding. Make it faster, sharper, and stronger. And when the storm comes, you must show them that the fastest way to survive is not the waddle, it's the slide. Chapter 4. The night of the thunder, Pip trained harder than he had ever trained in his life. He slid down the highest glaciers, dodging sharp icicles. He practiced sharp turns, braking, and jumping over crevasses. He pushed himself until his flippers ached and his belly was cold and numb. By the second night, Pip was exhausted but ready. That night, the wind changed. It didn't whisper, it howled like a hungry wolf. The sky turned a sickly green, and then completely black. The ground began to tremble. Elder Grumble woke up with a start. By the frozen stars! He cried. The ice is groaning. It was true. The massive ice shelf they lived on was cracking. The storm had arrived a day early, and it was a monster. Snow fell so thickly that they couldn't see a flipper in front of their beaks. The nursery huddle was breaking up in panic. Waddle! Waddle for your lives! Elder Grumble shouted. But the snow was too deep. The ice was too slippery. The waddling penguins got stuck, tripped over each other, and fell in heaps. Pip stood on a high rock. He knew what he had to do. He took the loudest, deepest breath he could and let out a piercing cry. Follow me. At first, no one listened. But then Pippa, his little sister, looked up. Pip! Show us. Pip jumped off the rock, tucked his flippers, and shot across the ice like a silver bullet. He zipped through the chaos, clearing a path through the snow. He looked back. Do you see? Stop waddling. Lay on your bellies and slide. Penny, his mother, looked at his father. He's right. It's faster. Everyone, belly slide. One by one, the penguins dropped to their bellies. They slid after Pip. It was messy, they bumped into each other, spun in circles, and got snow in their eyes, but they were moving. They were leaving the cracking ice behind. Chapter 5. The frozen peaks. Pip led the massive trail of sliding penguins through the canyon, past the ancient cave, and towards the towering frozen peaks. The winds were furious, trying to push them back. The snow stung their eyes like tiny needles. Suddenly, the path ended. A giant, gaping chasm blocked their way. It was too wide to jump, and too deep to see the bottom. We're trapped, wailed Toby. We're doomed. Pip studied the chasm. The wind was howling, and he noticed that the snow on the edges was drifting, forming a bridge that was temporarily filling the gap. It's a snow bridge. Pip shouted. But it's fragile. We have to cross one at a time, incredibly fast, so we don't put too much weight on it. Who goes first? Lulu trembled. Pip stepped forward. I do. I'm the lightest and the fastest. He backed up, took a running slide, and shot across the fragile snow bridge like a dart. Shwoop! He made it to the other side just as a piece of the bridge crumbled behind him. It works. Come on, one at a time. The fastest first. Babies next. The penguins followed his orders. They slid across the bridge one by one. It was tense. On the 10th crossing, the bridge started to crack. On the 20th, it began to sink. Finally, just as Pippa and Penny crossed, the bridge collapsed completely with a thunderous crack. They had made it. But they weren't safe yet. Chapter 6. The lonely climb. They arrived at the base of the frozen peaks. In the distance, through a clearing in the storm, Pip could see the hidden valley, a warm, sheltered place with calm seas and plenty of fish. But between them and the valley stood one last obstacle. The Sentinel Peak. According to the Guardian, Pip had to climb to the very top of Sentinel Peak and light the beacon, a giant pile of ancient driftwood, to signal the way through the final snowstorm. I have to go alone, Pip said. I'm the only one fast enough to get up there before the storm closes in again. His mother hugged him tightly. Be careful, my brave little slide champion. Pip began his climb. But walking uphill was like waddling, it was his weakness. He kept slipping and falling backwards. No. He cried. I can't do this. I can't walk up a mountain. Just then, Sal's voice echoed in his memory. Your difference is your destiny. Pip looked up at the steep, icy slope. An idea sparked in his mind. He didn't have to walk up it. He could slide up it using the momentum and ramps of ice. He backed up, found a natural ice ramp, and launched himself up the slope. He twisted and turned, using his flippers to steer and his belly to glide over the rough patches. It was like a huge, terrifying roller coaster, but he was gaining altitude. Chapter 7. The beacon of hope. Finally, after a grueling, freezing climb, Pip reached the summit. The wind was so strong here it nearly blew him off the edge. He found the pile of driftwood, frozen solid. He needed a spark. He looked around and saw a piece of flint-like rock. He struck it against his beak, clink. A tiny spark flew, but it fizzled out in the snow. Again. Clink. A bigger spark. It landed on the wood and caught a weak, flickering flame. The wind tried to snuff it out, but Pip curled his body around the fire like a shield. He flapped his flippers to fan the flame. Whoosh! The beacon exploded into a brilliant, roaring fire that shot high into the dark sky. It was a pillar of golden light that could be seen for miles and miles. Down below, the colony saw the light. There! Cried Pete. That's our path. That's the hidden valley. They slid forward, guided by Pip's glorious fire. Chapter 8. A hero is made. The storm raged for 2 more hours, but the colony made it safely into the hidden valley. The snow couldn't reach them there, the winds were calm, and the water was full of silvery fish. As the sun finally rose over the valley, painting the snow in shades of orange and gold, Pip slid down the final slope to join his family. The entire colony cheered. Elder Grumble waddled forward, slowly, and bowed his old, gray head. I was wrong, little one, Elder Grumble said. You taught us that being different isn't a weakness. It's the greatest strength of all. From this day forward, we will celebrate the belly slide as much as the waddle. Toby, Lulu, and Finn rushed up to him. Can you teach us to slide like that, Pip? Please. We want to be fast too. Pip beamed. He looked over at the sea, where Sal the seal was bobbing in the waves, nodding proudly. Pip finally understood. He wasn't meant to be a perfect waddler. He was meant to be the fastest, bravest, silliest belly slider in the whole wide world. And that was exactly what the colony needed. That night, as the penguins settled into their new home, Pip snuggled up with his sister and his parents. He didn't worry about falling anymore. Because sometimes, falling just means you're about to take off flying, or sliding, towards your destiny. The end.